Hey, Eric,
Yes, Ben.
I have a confession to make to you. This is going
Really?
to be hard for you to believe.
Don't
Yes.
get too personal here.
I am a deeply, deeply uncool person.
No, I don't believe that.
And what's more, I am a poor dresser.
That
I
I do
just,
believe. I've seen you wear the same pair of pants like 4 days in a row. That sounds true.
well, luckily, there's a cure for that. Won't feel the peril. The only time in my life where I actually feel like a cool, well dressed person.
So we'll take Dorky Ben, we'll put him in home field apparel, and he will transform into cool
Yes,
gear
this
Ben.
literally happened when I was at the Iowa and Drake women's game at the Knapp Center in Des Moines. I walked around with just a air of smug satisfaction as I walked around the rafters, looking at all these people in their non-home field apparel Iowa gear and thinking, you know what? I'm better dressed than you all. I mean, I'm glad you're Hawkeyes, but maybe up your game, everybody. Get some sweet home field apparel.
So if somebody wanted to be as cool as you, now that you have your gear, where would they go?
Oh, they could go to homefieldapparel.com. Now, Eric, you have home field apparel.
I do.
Sadly, you prefer to dress like an asshole, so you're wearing Gopher apparel, right?
Yes, but I will say the shirt that I have, when I put it on, it feels so comfortable. I just want to roll around in it. It has this sort of silkiness that my other t-shirts don't
Yeah,
have.
it's like instead of mouthfeel, it's got a good torso feel. You know, it just feels
Really good
nice on your
torso
butt.
feel. Yeah. All of my body parts just feel better when I'm wearing this
Ooh,
shirt.
okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I highly recommend just the way it feels when it touches your skin. They do something to those shirts that none of my other shirts feel that way.
So they do something to the shirts, and the shirts do something to your body. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend the home field apparel gear.
The governors got together and said, look, let's play for a hog. Let's play for a pig.
Ben and Eric gather at their laptops. One's a Gopher, one's a Hawkeye. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the season finale of the Pod of Rosedale. Eric, I'm kind of sad, but I have to say, Ben Stradamus is also not terribly upset because, again, he proved what a genius he is. We'll get into our season predictions a little bit, but I feel like I know these teams, well. If people had followed my advice, they could have made a lot of money. It's on the tape. We'll get into it.
No, I don't like what you're doing here because you're trying to focus on the positivity, and I don't like that. What I want to hear from you is the anger and frustration that you should be feeling right now. It shouldn't be this like, oh, I had 7-5. I said at the beginning of the season, and 8-4. I was right. So everybody look at me, even though you've never actually placed a bet in your life. Like, Ben, I want to hear how
I have a coworker that I bet a
you've
bunch of
never
times.
placed a real bet. How
Okay.
are you feeling after
Fine.
what happened on Friday? This has got to be you
Oh, I
lost
mean,
to Nebraska of all
Iowa
teams
deserve to lose
to end your
It's,
season. The goddamn Cornhuskers.
I'm relieved it's mostly over. Other than some dumb bowl game in like New York, it's over. The long national nightmare is over. The Iowa season's over. I'm kind of relieved.
Is it over? or
Well,
are we gonna
literally,
see-
the season is literally over before the bowl game. There's a bowl game, but otherwise, yes, the season is over. Eric,
Well,
yes.
okay, but you still have the same head coach. You still have the same offensive coordinator.
That's fine. I don't have
You
to worry about
likely
that.
have the same quarterback next year. I saw. We'll get into Padilla, but I saw a blurb that Petrus could use a COVID year and come back. He may be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, we'll
again
talk.
next year.
I mean, people, there's some rumors, some hope speculating around too. Yeah, he could come back.
You talking about the Michigan quarterback? I heard a little bit of that too.
Yes, Cade McNamara.
Our guy Steppy, I think had tweeted out that possibility.
Yeah, all the Iowa beat reporters tweeted it out, and Bruce Feldman did too, actually. So that's where there's maybe a little bit of
Who's
smoke.
Bruce Feldman?
He's some national sports writer,
Okay.
not just an Iowa one. And again, maybe he's just speculating. He might not actually know anything. Who knows?
Is that why Padilla is going into the transfer portal? Because
yeah, I don't know there's a lot of ways you can look at it. It could be that Kirk said in uncertain terms, like, oh, Petrus is coming back, and he's like, oh, I'm not going to beat Petrus.
He did that last year, though, right? He came back knowing Petrus was going to be there.
I think he was probably told last year that it was going to be a competition. and then he had a real shot, and then I think it became very clear this season that he didn't have a shot, that Petrus was the dude. Despite how poorly Petrus played, he couldn't.
Can I disclose something to you?
Go ahead.
Did not watch a second of that game on Friday. My kids wanted to go skiing. We hit the slopes.
You go to the place in Apple Valley?
Buck Hill. It's in Burnsville.
Oh, Burnsville. I'm sorry, I mixed them up. Sorry.
But yeah, I did a little boarding. Kids did a little skiing. My wife stayed home, watched the game because she had to watch her Hawkeyes. And so I didn't see it. I have no memories of it. I came home hoping to see my wife in a happy mood, and she was not in a happy mood. She was very upset that the Hawkeyes lost, and I was like, "What? To Nebraska? Are you serious?" So give me a little breakdown of the game. I want to hear kind of
There are two things that happened that were the big problems.
Petrus played. He started the game, right?
Yeah, and well, that's a third big thing you could argue. I don't know how much of a difference it made, because Petrus was 1 for 6 before he went out. He was bad before he went out. He wasn't.
Was he really? Can we go conspiracy theory again? Was it an actual injury? Did he?
It very much looked like he could not throw the ball.
Well, it's looked like that his whole career, but something different.
Okay, your constant, tinfoil hat stuff has been disproven time and time again. But you can believe whatever you want, Eric. It's free country. You can believe the Earth is flat. You can believe what ancient aliens taught the Egyptians how to build the pyramids. Whatever. It's up to you, Eric. But no, I don't think he actually got hit. I think he actually got hurt. It was senior day. It was his last game. It was at Kinnick. I don't think he was pretending to get hurt to come out.
Last game, question mark. Maybe not.
Fine. He went through senior day activities. Maybe he gets to do that twice. Usually Kirk's pretty adamant about you having to be a senior to do the senior day things. But who knows? I don't know. But he did not look, from what I could see, like he could throw it. He looked like he was in pain. Free country, believe what you want. But that was for the third thing.
Did he get hit? And then
so because they did their slow play action bootleg, and an unblocked defender came in, tackled him from behind, a fumble. On Iowa, you're wanting to disrupt my flow, which is fine. So the second thing, there were 3 fumbles. Iowa lost 3 fumbles, and Nebraska scored touchdowns. There were 17 points on 3 fumbles. The first one was that one. It took Petrus out of the game, and it gave Nebraska a short field. What
was the crowd like? I mean, what was the crowd reaction? Was it just completely stunned? I mean, nobody thought Iowa was going to lose this game.
It was very, very quiet, and then Iowa just kept fumbling, and the offense kept doing nothing. People were ready to cheer, and they finally came to life eventually, but it's too late. Iowa fell down 24-0. Again, the biggest thing that happened is they lost Cooper DeJean, the guy that basically single-handedly helped Iowa beat Wisconsin and Rutgers, and actually helped contain a couple of those big Ibrahim runs a week ago against your Gophers. Iowa's second best defender. Guy's an absolute stud. He got a concussion very early. He was out, which meant Iowa was down to their 4th or 5th string corner, because there's number 2 and number 3 guys were already out with injuries. They've been out all year. So they also had these guys in coverage who just were not ready to be in coverage. They got utterly demolished. Bust coverage from them for an 87-yard touchdown. And it was clear that, that's just what Nebraska kept doing. He's just throwing it, whoever was, being guarded by the worst corner. So that was the biggest thing. That doesn't happen, and Nebraska probably scores less. 2 is the fumble. Iowa lost 3 fumbles. One was Petrus, who shook him out. Another one was Padilla, who again got ran at by another unblocked defender. I mean, Iowa's offensive line was just trash. And that was another one, caused another Nebraska score. And then, here's another. Yeah, this is another one why Cooper DeJean made a big difference. So Arlen Bruce was returning punts, and Iowa got a 3-and-out to start the second half. They were only down 17-0 at the point, which is still pretty hopeless. But he went to field the punt, and he fumbled it. Otherwise, Cooper DeJean would have been returning the punts, and he's way better than Arlen Bruce, and he probably doesn't fumble there. And Nebraska scores a touchdown right after that.
So one play here there, and it's not 24-0 is what you're saying?
Oh, I'm saying if you have Cooper DeJean,
bounces this way or that way, and
no, I'm saying if you have Cooper DeJean, they can't exploit a guy who can't play coverage. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I like how I say several things, Eric, and then you pick on one thing and say, that's my whole thesis. One touchdown would have made it 17-14, I guess, if you're doing that stuff, but that's not my point. The point is they lost their second best defender and now had to go through a guy who's buried on the depth chart and is just Kirk. This is what Kirk said after the game, which is as close as you're going to get to him saying a player sucks. He said the guy was not ready for prime time. They were bad. I mean, that's how they scored their touchdowns.
He would never say that about his son, though. Not ready for prime time.
Well, no, he wouldn't, of course. Would you say that about your daughters? I mean, if they were working for you and they were maybe not doing great at the job, would you publicly say that they were terrible?
I would retire and live on an island of all of the money that I've made.
Okay, well, that's fine. That makes sense. So no,
I would buy an island in Iowa. I would make an island in Iowa, and I would.
My point is, they score less points with Cooper DeJean. They also have one less fumble, so Nebraska is probably somewhere in the middle.
You're so testy. You're really testy about this. I like it.
It's more about you interrupting.
You're agitated. Yeah.
Well, you ask me a question and then you don't sit back and wait for the response, and then you're like, "Hey, you said one thing, so I'm going to
You won't stop talking. I've got to jump in here, otherwise
it's a multifaceted monologue here. I've got several points. Are you saying this one thing
I
is
put
the
a
one
quarter
difference
in you and you're just going.
One
you are
thing,
so testy. I'm sorry that your team lost.
Just that one thing was the difference. Anyway,
I'm sorry your team lost, man.
Losing their second best defender, fumbling 3 times, and then I guess maybe Petrus to Padilla. Padilla wasn't better than Petrus, that's for sure. Maybe he was worse. So those are the 3 things that were the difference in the game. Nebraska had 330 yards. Iowa did their typical under 300. So, Cooper DeJean doesn't get injured. Maybe the game's better. It's closer.
So Iowa's luck kind of ran out a little bit.
Sure. If they don't fumble. Yeah, certainly if they don't lose 3 fumbles and have 3 turnovers. Yeah, I think Nebraska
blow them
scores
out
less.
Then, yeah.
No, I just think the game's close and they have a chance to win. But, yes, thank you. Thank you.
At home to win the Big Ten West, and that's what they put out. So you're not upset about that in any way? That's like an angry fan?
At this point, I mean, let's say Iowa wins. I'd rather they won. Then they'd be getting ready to get crushed by Michigan for the second straight year. They'd be playing Michigan in the Big Ten title game.
Maybe. I mean, Michigan looked really great against Ohio State. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they dominated Ohio State completely. It wasn't even that close.
A couple balls bounced this way and that way, and it's a whole different game according to you. So.
Yeah. Well, it was against Nebraska. This was my whole point against Nebraska. Not my point against Michigan. I didn't say that after the Iowa-Michigan game in Kinnick. I was like, just a couple bounces the other way, this way, that way. Michigan's just a billion times better. But yes, obviously, if you don't lose 3 fumbles and Nebraska scores 17 points off of 3 fumbles, yes, maybe they score less than 24, and maybe you're in the game at the end. But I don't know. They're not fun to watch. I don't know. You always talk about sports are entertaining. Iowa, they're not entertaining. They're excruciating to watch.
But you love this team so much. I think that's the thing that's so interesting to me. Like you're wearing an Iowa hat right now, drinking out of an Iowa cup. Do you have an Iowa shirt on as well? I can't see.
It's just a black polo. There's no Iowa logo.
You got your your vintage Iowa T-shirt that you bought from Home Field Apparel.
That's upstairs, but I'm not wearing it currently. I could have put it on. I like Iowa. I want them to win, but they're a frustrating team. It's not fun when the coach's son is the offensive coordinator and the offense is awful.
So where does the team go from here? Like, do you have any reason to believe next year is an improvement? I mean, this quarter, you mentioned the Michigan thing. So if you get that, he was the starter last year, right? McNamara. And then he got hurt, and then the other guy came in, and so he's been sort of on the bench this season, and he's gone into the transfer portal. So he comes to Iowa. Does that change everything? Is that a whole new life? You got this new quarterback.
Does it change everything? I'm just going to use your phrase. No, it doesn't change everything. Obviously, having a quarterback the whole year, Eric, you did is Spencer Petras the worst in QBR?
He was.
Right.
I wasn't doing anything. I was reading the stat.
My point is you observed repeatedly how he was basically the worst quarterback, or maybe the 5th worst if you want to be an optimist about it, quarterback in all of college football. So if you take a guy who's 40 spots above that, it changes the offense. The offense is better for sure. Does it change everything? Does it turn them into a powerhouse? No, because Iowa's defense is probably not going to be quite as good next year. They'll still be good.
Who are you losing? Is Cooper DeJean going pro or what? Who are you losing on?
Jack Campbell's gone. He's the best linebacker that Kirk Ferentz has ever had. That's going to be a big downgrade.
Mr. Tiptoe along the sidelines against my Gophers, right? Wasn't that Campbell?
He was in bounds. Yeah, he stayed in bounds.
Okay.
The refs, they took the payment from the Gophers. The bribe paid out.
So Spencer Petras finished the season at 114 in total QBR.
Yeah.
Of all
I think an upgrade at quarterback makes Iowa's team better. I don't think that's controversial to say. It's not going to fix an offensive line that was still in the last game of the year. Still have got. I mean, I don't. You probably didn't see it because you're not plugged into Iowa. There's a play. Iowa's right tackle is a guy named Jack Plum. He's standing there on the right side. Nebraska has their defender lined up on the outside of him. He stands there and doesn't attempt to block the guy who just runs in for a big 10-yard loss. I don't know if you saw that, but that's still happening where guys are just missing assignments completely several times a game.
Wouldn't that be the offensive line coach or maybe the offensive coordinator responsible for that?
Of course. I mean, are you saying Brian Ferentz sucks and should be replaced? I don't know. You haven't really convinced me. I think he should stay. I'm a really big Brian Ferentz supporter. Well, you were the one last week that had a big thing about how you thought the Gophers should hire Brian Ferentz to be your new head coach. I mean,
I said those words. That's true.
You even want to implement a crazy 80% income tax on the people of Minnesota to pay an exorbitant salary. Very weird. Yes, but we already know Brian Ferentz sucks. We already know the offensive line coach sucks. There's no reason to think that's getting better next year. I don't think Brian's going to be gone. And even if he is gone, I mean, it's still going to be Kirk's offense probably. We're going to hire somebody else who will just do whatever Kirk wants offensively. So, no, I don't think there's any reason to think that changes. But at some point, there is coming a point where they're going to be so bad offensively that they will technically be better. Are they at the bottom point? I hope so. I hope this is as bad as it gets, and it gets at least somewhat better. I don't know. A better quarterback would help. But what if all the wide receivers transfer out? Because they're like, oh, look, worked out well for Charlie Jones. He did it pretty good. He did well. Why am I going to be here with the coach's doofus of a son? Iowa had 2 wide receiver receiving touchdowns all year.
Yikes.
I don't know how you'd ever convince a wide receiver to play football. And I just doesn't I can't see any reason why if you're a talented wide receiver, he'd look at your option and say, you know what? I'm going to go to Iowa. I just can't see any reason why anybody would do that.
If you get this quarterback, this 4-star former Michigan quarterback to come and throw the ball, I think that might change things. But why would he want to come to Iowa? And play in that, hand the ball off, 20 times a game and throw to tight end screens 3 or 4 or 5 times a game?
I don't know. I have no reason to think why. Why would he?
What if, spitballing it here, but he says, I'll come to Iowa, but you got to get a new coordinator. Get him out of here.
I mean, if that would be awesome.
We
get Cade McNamara and we lose Brian Ferentz. Yeah. That's a win.
But
buddy.
But Kirk says, hell no, get the fuck out of here. You're not transferring here.
Then okay. Then it doesn't happen. I mean, I don't want that. I can't stop that from happening.
I'm just saying, obviously you can't. Hypothetically, don't you think that's the more likely outcome is where Kirk doesn't, he's not going to fold to that pressure.
Sure.
Right?
I doubt a quarterback's going to come in and say, yeah, I'll be your quarterback, but I need a new offensive coordinator. I doubt it. But you're right that Kirk isn't going to cave to that. He's not going to oh, yeah, okay, let me. I really need this guy. I mean, no, he's not going to do that. Of course not. Of course he wouldn't do that. But I also doubt Cade McNamara or anybody would do that. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I don't know. It'd be cool to get one. Padilla's not going to be playing in the bowl game, so the only reason the bowl game is actually interesting is if Petras can't play, and Padilla's already basically done, he's off the website, he's dead to Kirk anyway. Is Iowa's third-string quarterback going to get a run at it? That might be interesting to see. How bad is it? Probably really bad, but who knows? That'll be about one of the only reasons to watch the bowl game. I'm not optimistic about the offense being better. A better quarterback would help. It wouldn't fix everything, but it would at least be something we'd be marginally excited about. I mean, we've had Petras for 3 years. That's not been exciting. It's been a bummer to have that. I mean, there's only a couple. I mean, Caleb Johnson's still great. He scored a 44-yard touchdown. That was awesome to see. Luke Lachey drug a bunch of defenders into the end zone, so Iowa's going to have a good tight end again, as per usual. But there's not much else on the offense to hang your hat on. And if the defense regresses at all, I mean, it won't be bad. I mean, the schedule is easier, so Iowa could win 8 games next year.
That's true. We did talk about that. Much easier schedule for your
So
team.
I mean, is it? Are they going to be a powerhouse? Or are they going to be the last? I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm not optimistic, but Padilla's gone. Hopefully that I know. Yeah, I mean, I'll be delighted if I hear that Brian's taking a job as an assistant in the NFL somewhere. That'd be pretty great news. But
Well, I am excited about my team next year. I think the Gophers have a lot to be excited. Kaliak Manis played amazing against Badgers. I don't know if you saw it, we won the Axe, so the Gophers beat Badgers.
I did see
have
that.
The Axe.
I don't know
PJ
if you
smoking a
know this,
cigar.
but I said that was going to happen. That raised your spirits. You were bummed out last week. You're knocking on me for being annoyed with you. You were down.
It's just losing to your
moping.
crap team is a real frustration.
Well,
but-
watching my crap team is kind of frustrating, so I'm kind of relieved that I'm about done watching my crap team. They're a frustrating team.
But excited about our quarterback next year. Kaliak Manis looked probably the best game by a Gopher starting quarterback in a long time.
Well, is Tanner Morgan getting a medical red shirt?
No, he's not. He's done. I think he's played too many games. He's already used the COVID year, so he can't do
What if
that.
you find out he's got a medical red shirt? Would that make you really depressed?
Boy. But I did see something. So Ottman Bell's coming back, who was supposed to be a dynamic receiver this year.
Yeah.
The couple of the younger guys that Kaliak Manis worked with really looked great. Wright was one guy I think that played really well against Wisconsin. And then I think they have a transfer from Wisconsin coming in. So it should be a pretty deep wide receiver field. Obviously, you lose Ibrahim. He was.
How do you feel about him not being a Doak Walker candidate?
I saw that.
Isn't that frustrating?
I think the stats he should be if you just look at the statistics.
Just look at the Gopher games without like that. The Gophers just suck immediately once he's gone.
He did miss a game, so maybe that factors in it. I don't know.
The Gophers without Ibrahim are just terrible. I mean, they're Iowa. It's bad. Anyway, I don't know. I thought that was kind of lame. He's one of the 3 best running backs in college football. I think that's fair to say, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, he was an early Heisman favorite, until the year fell apart. But I don't know. He also didn't play great against Wisconsin. I think he had an injury and only put up like 70 yards. It's probably his worst game of the season.
Hear that? 70 yards is his worst game of the season. Man, I wonder what that's like.
Well, he had like 30 carries, but anyways,
Oh.
I don't know. Really, it's all about the quarterback. I'm excited about this quarterback next year. Tough schedule for the Gophers. So I don't even know if they'll have a better record. They did finish this season with a better record than Iowa, so I always like that. I mean, 8-4 is tied for best record in the Big Ten West. Obviously, they didn't have the best Big Ten record, but no, I think the future looks bright for PJ beating Nebraska, beating Wisconsin. Didn't beat Iowa. That's the one thing he just hasn't done as a coach.
No, first time. When was the last time the Gophers won back-to-back games against Wisconsin?
It was like I think 91 or something like that.
Oh my God, that hasn't happened in 30 years, basically.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, there you go. That's exciting.
And that's all you need. I mean, I think PJ had some quote where he was like, "I was told all I have to do is beat Wisconsin, and then my job's secure." He's like, "Well, I've done that, and people want to be fired after I lost to Iowa." And it's like, nobody's saying you should have been fired after you lost to Iowa. Like, pump the brakes on that shit. But you do need to beat Iowa. I mean, especially in the way you've lost to them in winnable games.
Apparently you don't. I mean, he's never done it. It's not impacting his job security. That's fine. He can keep losing to Iowa. It's fine.
Well, no, he has complete security. He's not going anywhere unless he wants to. There's no chance they fire him at this point.
No,
he's where the Gophers should be as a team. I mean, this is exactly where this is like the top tier. It's same as Iowa. Every once in a blue moon, you'll have that great season where the schedule breaks right. You win a couple big games, and you have a chance to play for the Big Ten title.
Well, shouldn't the schedule have broken right this year?
Yeah, this was a big disappointment. Absolutely. This year, I don't think you could chalk this up as like a positive season. I think this is definitely a disappointment. Where the way the schedule was, the way the Big Ten West was so winnable. I mean, there's really no good team. Purdue's going to be playing for the Big Ten title. Purdue was not a good team.
No, Purdue lost to Iowa 24-3 at home. I mean, that's bad.
Yeah. I mean, they only had 3 Big Ten losses, though. That's just kind of the way it shakes out.
That's true.
Beat Nebraska if you're Iowa at home.
No, I'm not mad about it.
Like,
I really not.
There was so much parity throughout the entire conference. It's wild.
Because everybody's mediocre. Everybody's deeply flawed. All the quarterbacks are pretty crappy.
Really, I think it comes down to quarterback play. Purdue had the best quarterback, right? They did throughout the whole season. They had the best quarterback, and they're going to be playing for the Big Ten title. So, I mean, they're not going to win, right? Nobody would predict Purdue's going to win that game.
I don't even know what's the spread here. Even I'm going to look it up. I know nobody's.
They virtually have no chance, but at least they're in the game, right? At least they're playing the game.
Sure. It's fun to get your butt kicked by Michigan. It was a good time last year. I really enjoyed
16.5 points.
I just saw it. Yeah, I've seen that as well. It's not the longest shot, so there you go. But yeah, it's going to be tough. But hey, good for them. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they can pull a miracle.
So for me, disappointing season for the Gophers, but you beat the Badgers and you take the axe, and that's like, PJ smoking a cigar in the locker room and yelling and screaming, like, it's like, dude, you didn't win anything. But it feels that way. So I guess conversely, with your Hawkeyes losing to Nebraska, does the season feel completely shallow at that point, or does it not matter in any way? So you're just going to pretend?
It feels shallow for me. I mean, there are plenty of people who were like,
would you rather be 6-6 but beat Nebraska in this situation, or where the team is now?
7-5 with the Nebraska loss? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. At that point, since either scenario doesn't involve Iowa doing anything meaningful, sure. Yes. At this point, 6-6, I mean, they're both bowl games. I was going to go to a crummy bowl game. It wouldn't make that difference how much crummier the bowl is at 6-6 versus 7-5. No, the season's a whole big whatever. I mean, if they go on a 5-game,
you lose to Wisconsin, but you beat Nebraska, that sort of thing. Like you would trade that.
Sure, I hate Nebraska way more than I hate Wisconsin. But yeah, 7-5 is nothing. I mean, it's a nothing. I mean, fine, they'll go to a bowl game. They're going to play Pittsburgh or whomever they play in their bowl game, and it's going to be, well, they're not fun to watch. They had every chance if they go on a 5-game win streak to close out the year. It's not awesome because they won kind of annoyingly, but you're like, okay, I guess back-to-back Big Ten West championships. Here we go. Instead, 7-5. Yeah, they kept.
You don't get the banner. You don't get the banner that you can hang up at Kinnick.
Nope. They got wins over Wisconsin and Minnesota. Good. They lost to Nebraska and Iowa State. Kind of a split there. They had opportunities, but the offense is so terrible. And it's probably not bad enough that you get real change. I mean, if they really had tanked, maybe, if Iowa's 4-8, maybe there's change. I mean, probably not still, but maybe. At this point, it's like, it's kind of meh. So it's like, it's done. Play your bowl game. Maybe we'll see the third string quarterback, and it'd be fun if something cool happened in the offseason. The offensive line coach, I don't know how the offensive line coach is justified in keeping their job. They absolutely need to be fired.
Isn't Brian Ferentz the offensive line coach as well as the offensive coordinator?
No, there's somebody else. He's the quarterback's coach. Brian Ferentz is the quarterback's coach. So yeah, he's in charge of the worst quarterback in college football. What a stud. What a king. To just be objectively terrible at your job but make $900,000. Man, isn't that what could be sweeter than that? Just
what do you think his paycheck? Because I'm sure he gets paid, twice a month. Every other week he's getting a check from the university.
I'm getting my phone out, not because I'm,
He's withholding his taxes, right? So he's some of that's going to his 401k and all that. But what? Are you?
Let's do this.
Is it like a $40,000 paycheck? He literally $50,000 paycheck. That's direct deposit into his bank.
How much of his paycheck do you think gets withheld? Just give me a number. Should we say
half
30?
Of it? He's probably doing 50%, something 40%, 50%, something like that.
That's $450,000.
I mean, you're talking he's got to pay his insurance, right? He's got his premiums he's got to put in there, right?
So if he literally is only take home pay, right? If it's just his take home pay and 50% goes to tax withholdings and Social Security and 401k, all that shit, and we say 50%. I just took that $450,000 and divided that by 52, right? Or no, it's not 52, right? I'm off. it'd be 26 paychecks. So 450,000 because every other week, right? Divide by 26.
Sure. Yep.
That means every 2 weeks he sees a $17,307 paycheck.
Right in his bank account, direct.
And that's 50%, which I think is probably a high estimate.
That's very high. He's working some shit where he's not paying a whole lot of taxes, I imagine.
Oh, sure, yeah. He's giving. Yeah, no. I mean, and this is. Yeah, I would be surprised. So he'd be seeing $34K a month according to our ridiculous assumptions.
Those are some sizable paychecks.
He can buy a car with every paycheck, basically. He can buy a brand new car if he wants.
Yeah. Probably.
And he lives in Iowa, so I'm just, if anybody from Minnesota, I mean, your money goes further in Iowa for obvious reasons because there's less people.
You would have a hard time spending that amount of money.
I mean, you can get a massive house for like $500K in Iowa.
Do you know where Ferentz lives? I'm sure that's got to be all everybody knows. I think I know where he lives, actually.
I don't. I could find that out. I don't care. It would depress me probably, but I'm sure.
I think he lives out near Solon, doesn't he? I think he does.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, it's like it's ridiculous. So yeah, anyway, he's getting paid to do that. He's in charge of the quarterback. The offensive line coach, literally, guys they're not like, I suck. I'm not an athlete. I'm a middle-aged schlub, but I can stand there and just watch his defenders go by. I can do that. That's literally physically. Yeah, I can go out there and pass.
Is this a new? Is he new?
I think this is his first year. I think this is his first year. Okay. I think but at Iowa, I don't know. I don't remember what his coaching pedigree is.
Because I mean, Iowa. The reason why I ask is
in front of a guy. I can stand in front of a guy and get run over.
Iowa has a pretty long history of like really good offensive linemen.
Well, this is kind of old hat. They occasionally have good studs like Tristan Wirfs or whatever. Tyler Linderbaum. These guys are studs, and they're the studs in the NFL, and that's great. But like, there have not been very many dominating offensive lines for Iowa.
Right, but you've had first round, second round, third round.
Well, I mentioned those guys. Yeah, but one stud doesn't make your offensive line great. Iowa has only finished in the top 5 in the Big Ten rushing, like average yards a game. They only finished in the top 5 3 times in Kirk's 23 years. The top 5. I'm not even talking about number 1. Usually they're 7th, 8th, 9th. They don't make it yards per carry. It doesn't matter. They don't finish in the top. They're not one of the best rushing teams. They rarely have dominant offensive lines as a unit. Yeah, they got studs, and they have a reputation, and it's cool. And I really hope Caden Proctor decides to stay to go to Iowa. That'd be something. That'd be positive. A 5-star stud that could have gone to Alabama. If he goes to Iowa, that will help.
Is he a high school senior? That some guy you're talking about?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. He's one of the I was ever got. He went to my old high school, and this 5-star guy who was choosing between Iowa and Alabama. Some people are upset because he took a visit to Oregon. Some people think he just wanted to take a visit because, hey, it's a free trip to Oregon. Some thinks he's testing the waters. Who knows? I don't know.
Has he committed to Iowa already?
He verbally committed, okay. But the signing day isn't for another couple of weeks, so nothing's official yet.
Yeah, and watching that game on Black Friday he might have changed his mind.
I mean, this is not his first game. He saw the games last year too. He'll be able to start right away. I mean, he'll be an upgrade over the current right tackle, but yeah, the offensive line, if you can't get the guys in front of the people I can stand in front of a college athlete and get run over, Eric. I could do that. I could, if you're a defensive lineman, right, you're an athlete, you're a superior, big macho man, I could stand in your way as you run over me. I could make you go around me.
And it does seem, it seems like a schematic thing. I think that they're just leaving guys unblocked,
Correct. And this is the last game of the year.
That's a scheme problem, I think, more than offensive line, player issue. But
that's fine. It's coaching or scheme. Either way, they're not being taught well. It's not a good strategy to leave defenders unblocked to run your quarterback. As a general rule, I know I'm a dweeb, but my personal philosophy is you don't want unblocked defenders running right at your quarterback.
Well, unless the play calls for that, I mean,
like a screen or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iowa cannot run screens.
That's a good example of you want the lineman to rush through and
I'm just telling you, Eric, none of these are screens that I'm talking about. I mean, the quarterback's there and then runs for their life and gets sacked is what happens in these plays. It's not like 4 linemen are running and then, oh, look, we've got a bunch of blockers set up for Caleb Johnson. Like, that's not what's happening. That's literally a guy who should be blocked isn't being blocked.
Anyways, okay.
Sorry.
So
it's very silly.
Any other closing thoughts on this season that you'd like?
No. Great defense, great special teams, shitty offense. We all know. Everybody knows.
Okay.
It's like, Iowa feels both very close and very far away from actually being an excellent team.
In terms of Big Ten West power rankings, you just go how the records finished out?
Purdue, Illinois.
Where do you get? What's next?
Let's give you Minnesota.
Okay. I was going to say
Minnesota. Iowa. Let's go Wisconsin, Nebraska, Northwestern.
Yeah,
any disagreements there?
No. I was going to disagree if you put Iowa ahead. I know they beat the Gophers and they had the tiebreaker, but losing to Nebraska at the end of the season should drop them down. But
well, that's fine. I mean, the margins between all those teams except for Northwestern is like razor thin. I mean, we are splitting hairs each of those levels. If you played this season out 100 times, I mean, I think various teams would take turns winning the Big Ten West. Barely. I mean, they're bad, but yeah, that's where it is. I had Indiana and they didn't win. Eric, who did you have?
I think I had Maryland and they did win.
Oh, they won decisively.
Yeah.
So I better have to learn the Purdue fight song. What's good? They deserve it anyway.
So while you look that up, I had a question. So like I said, my wife told me on Friday that Iowa lost. But there was still a possibility, right, that Iowa could have still become the Big Ten West champs. There were a few things that had to happen, correct?
There's 2 games. They just Indiana needed to win and Northwestern needed to win.
Right, so you needed Illinois and Purdue to lose.
Yep. Purdue kind of flirted for a little while with losing.
Yeah.
Northwestern just got destroyed. It wasn't even close. Northwestern was too terrible.
What were you, I guess,
no,
leading into? You weren't holding out hope? Weren't holding out hope at all?
No, it would have been funny, like in an abstract, like the 7-5 Iowa to just utterly backslide their way into the Big Ten championship game. It would have been funny in just like a sicko's "this is stupid" kind of way. But I wasn't like, man, I really hope that happens. That would be really dumb for at like 7-5 Kirk to be like, look, we won the Big Ten West championship. We're great. Like at 7-5, you barely won 50% of your games, and you're acting like you No. I wasn't really rooting for either team to lose. It would have been funny, but I wasn't like, I gotta see and hope. I was not invested. Iowa lost to Nebraska. They did not deserve to win to go to the Big Ten championship game. They had all the chances in the world. If they have even a bad offense, maybe it's a different story. But
all right, so we're gonna close the book on the Pod of Rosedale with you singing the.
But hey, you want to slough over? I had Iowa at 7-5. I had Minnesota at 8-4. No. You're not gonna try to bury that. You're Mr. Homer Man. You had your Gophers at 10-2. You read the Randy Johnson hype.
This should have been.
Oh, should have. Okay. Yes. And I should be a bazillionaire if the world were just and fair. They had their chances and they squandered them. They weren't that close to being 10-2. So let's hold your horses. And what did you have Iowa? Did you have Iowa at 6-6?
I think I did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. A hater and a homer. One of us knows football. One of us gets football. One of us doesn't. It's okay, Eric.
You're really proud of yourself. I can tell.
I am.
You should have bet on it. You should have. You can do that in Iowa. It's legal for you to. You're not breaking any laws.
Maybe I will next year. Maybe next year I will put some cheddar down on my.
You've got a little bit of a
takes.
History of making those over-unders or those year-end predictions stick. So maybe put some money. Put some money where your mouth is, Ben.
I will. I mean, I saw through the hype. Randy Johnson had you buttered up, and they're great. And I'm like, wait, am I taking crazy pills? Is Tanner Morgan their quarterback? Is it 2019? I saw through. All right. Well, here we go. So I got Hail Purdue is the name of their fight song. I'm not going to do the hymn. They have some weird hymn, too. So this is just going to be first verse, chorus, second verse, chorus. All right. Here we go, everybody. I don't know what the tune is, so here we go. To your call once more we rally. Alma mater, hear our praise. Where the Wabash spreads its valley, filled with joy our voices raise. From the skies in swelling echoes come the cheers that tell the tale All be victories and your heroes. Hail Purdue, we sing all hail. Hail, hail to old Purdue, all hail to our golden black. All hail to old Purdue, our friendship may she never lack. Ever grateful, ever true, thus we raise our song anew. All the days we spent with you, all hail our own Purdue. When in after years we're turning, alma mater back to you. May our hearts with love be yearning for the teams of old Purdue. Back among your pathways winding, let us seek what lies before. Fondest hopes and aims they're finding while we sing of days of yore. Hail, hail to old Purdue, all hail to our gold and black. All hail, hail to old Purdue, our friendship may she never lack. Ever grateful, ever true, thus we raise our song anew. Of the days we spent with you, all hail our own Purdue.
Good job. A lot of touchy-feely stuff in there. Friendship and love and...
Fight songs are weird. These are some weird... That's the one thing I've learned more than... It's
like Care Bears kind of
These are
theme.
Stuff from like 100 years ago. It's some weird shit. People just had weird ways of phrasing things. Is the Wabash some part in West Lafayette?
I didn't understand that part.
Where the Wabash spreads its valley? It must be just like, a geography thing. I don't know. But hey, all right. This is the end.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back next year, I think. More football talk. Pod of Rosedale. Pod of Rosedale will return. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.